I'm Lieutenant Stark from the Caregivers Sheriff's Office, and I was invited here today to talk about a little bit of senior safety and then a new program we have at our office. It's called Project Lifesaver. And in a nutshell, Project Lifesaver is designed for people with cognitive disabilities, traumatic brain injury, Down syndrome, autism, Alzheimer's. It's designed so that we can find people quicker. In a search, when somebody goes missing, the quicker we find them, the more likely it is that we're going to find them in a healthy condition. The longer the search goes on, the more we get concerned and the more likelihood of either passing away or serious injury. So a while ago, we started noticing that we were getting a fair amount of Alzheimer's walkaways. And I classify as Alzheimer's, but it's either early onset dementia. That's a very broad term, I understand. So we'll just say dementia is going to cover all of the cognitive disorders, so I don't have to name them all each time. So we were noticing a spike, if you will, in what was happening. Captain Sturm did some research and did some product analysis to find a tracking system that we could use in the county to help find people with the cognitive disabilities much quicker. And after a long evaluation process, we settled. I shouldn't say we settled. We chose the Project Lifesaver. It's based on radio frequency. Some of the other products we were looking at are based on GPSs. And if you go anywhere in Calaveras, you know that there are some places where GPS doesn't work. And then we also looked at some that were both GPS and cellular. Again, Calaveras County. There's some places that doesn't have very good cell service. So we settled on the radio frequency. The radio frequency is a very old technology, but in Calaveras, it's what works. And it allows us to use the radio frequency to find people. So this is generally how the program works. The person wears this around their wrist. It's very light. It has a basic, I think it's 2032, like a small battery, flat battery in it. And they wear this either on their arm or on their ankle. And it's checked daily by the caregiver. So they check it every day. The caregiver can say, hey, this has let me back up a little bit. This has a radio transmitter that emits a beep every few seconds. So we'll know, and it's a specific radio frequency for each person. So this person has it on their wrist. If they walk away, we get a phone call. We dispatch deputies with the receiver, and we start listening for the beep. So if you figure somebody can walk on an average pace, maybe 2 miles an hour, if we get a call in the first half hour and we get there within the first hour, that's a 2-mile radius that we have to go looking for this person. So if you stand, outside and somebody walked away from you, from your house, and it's a 2-mile radius, and generally you can figure out, they probably didn't walk up the mountain, they probably didn't go down in the gully, they probably walked on the road, but that's 2 miles of roadway they can start motoring. 2 hours is 4 miles. That's a lot of ground to cover when, maybe they decided to take a trail. Now we have this 4-mile radius, which is, just grows exponentially as the time goes by. So we have radio mounted antennas that we use that we can hook this to. And as we're driving, if we get a ping, if you will, we can stop and start tracking that ping. And we can get out and transfer to this, and we'll start sweeping the area. And once you are in the direction of the transmitter, you get a ping, and then when you turn away, it kind of gets silent. So it's kind of like tracking, and then, oh, there it is, so I walk this way, and you keep doing that until it narrows down. We have multiple units of this, so if we say, hey, I'm driving up there, and I got a ping off my radio or my rooftop antenna, I get out of the car, and I start doing my walk. I give everybody a direction. Well, they can come from this way, and they can come from this way. Now we triangulate it, so we're not following the person as they're walking away. We can, kind of box them in, if you will. So again, this works off a radio frequency. Excuse me. It was donated to us. The funds were donated to us by the Friends of the Calaveras Sheriff's Department and Sierra Pacific Industries. We had the vendor come out and train the trainer. There's about 10 of us in the department that are certified on it. We have started the process to get other deputies and our search and rescue cadre, our search and rescue members spooled up on this to deploy it. So it's not as simple as just saying, here's your transmitter, and there you go. We want to come do a home visit, talk to everybody, and have them understand the strengths and weaknesses of this, because the real Achilles heel is the battery in this. They last about 60 days, and we recommend changing at 40 or 45, because God forbid they go missing on day 59 and you haven't changed the battery. It will last longer, but not much. So the caregiver, we want them to do a daily log so we know that this has been checked. We can provide batteries if it's a cost issue. And then calling us immediately after it happens. A lot of times when people go missing, they'll be right back. They always walk around the block. They usually take a half hour, but it's been an hour, right? So maybe they took a wrong turn. That's a half hour of a wrong turn. Now we're talking about a mile somewhere else. And they'll do that. We'll all drive around, and I'll go look and find them, and I don't want to bother anybody. We're here to tell you we want you to bother us, because the quicker we get resources out there, the quicker we can find somebody. And studies have shown the longer people are out there, again, the more damage that can be done. So this is a pretty big room, so I could probably put this over here. So again, I already pre-programmed this to that specific transmitter. So you guys hear that beep? So if I turn this way, it's much quieter. And then where are they? Keep going, keep going. And then come over here. It's quiet, so we would start walking and basically doing this. I have it turned on to the sensitivity is turned way down, but as you get closer, and that's generally how it works. So obviously that's a much easier, we're in a classroom when I can see it, they're over there, but this will go several miles. So we can, again, and the rooftop antenna goes even further. So having this is really going to save people's lives. It's really going to make a difference when we're looking for people with the disabilities. Does anybody have any questions? I gave you guys some brochures. If you know anybody or are interested in it yourself, please give us a call. We'll come out and we'll do a personal walkthrough of how it works. And we'll get you lined up with the vendor and get the project going forward. It's a very new program to the state of California and to the sheriff's office. So we're very, very happy to have it. This is part of our preventative search and rescue. If we can prevent somebody going missing, we can also we'll prevent loss of life.
Now you need to buy the bracelet though. The consumer does, correct?
Yes, the consumer buys the bracelet, and it comes with different lengths of webbing, sizes, and whatnot. The different colors. If some people are like, I don't want a blue one, I want a red. There's a whole color palette for it.
How much are the bracelets?
They're a couple $100, and then the batteries are replaced infrequently, like I said, every about 45 days. What we will do though to help with the battery replacement, I want to say a special way. There's a way to put the battery in to make sure it's not waterproof, but it's water resistant. We can have our volunteer team come out and change them for you. It's not hard, but if it's not done correctly and they get into water or it's raining, it could hinder the ability for it to transmit.
And is that a one-time purchase or is there a subscription?
That's one time.
Okay.
So you can wear the bracelet and that in the shower or bath?
Yep.
Or whatever?
Shower, bath, whatever you need. It's, again, water resistant, and that means you can't go scuba diving with it.
That means you don't hold your arm
Yeah,
in
right.
water for a
Yeah,
long time.
I wouldn't recommend that. Any other questions?
And so the only people that can track that are gonna be you guys with your equipment, so there's no option for me to get a little tracking device that pairs up with the
No,
bracelet?
no, not at this time. No, this is per the vendor, it's law enforcement or rescue services only at this time.
Okay, so it's more limited than the Lifeline stuff where people get the fall, they get the pendant, and if they fall, they can hit the pendant and somebody comes. This is strictly for wandering.
It's strictly for wandering, but there's kind of this is the fail-safe, because the Lifesaver, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's cell-based or Wi-Fi based. Wi-Fi based. So if you walk out of Wi-Fi, it's not going to be able to transmit or track you. This will. This will go everywhere. Even in heavy cloud cover in the forest, you could lose GPS and cell service, especially in Calaveras. Any other questions?
So, why don't you go into a little more depth like you did with me, talking about how when you come, you'll actually already find out what the person's normal patterns are and where they normally come, so you don't have to do it while you're scared?
So part of the home visit is we talk about, does this person go on daily walks? If they do go on daily walks, where do they go? Is this person scared of law enforcement? Is this person resistant to loud noises? Some autism and some of that, they don't like loud noises or bright, flashing lights. Do they have a nickname? His name's Theodore, but we call him Billy because that's his middle name and he likes being called Billy. Or, what are their hobbies? Do they like, building model cars? So if our searchers do find them in the woods or wherever, we can start building that relationship of that we're there to help them. Even though our searchers, even our volunteers have full, matching uniforms, if somebody is in a declined state of conscious, they might not recognize that. And some people, they might even hide, thinking they're in trouble. So the last thing we want to do is if they're hiding, walk up to them and say, hey, this is, the sheriff's office, and we think, hey, we found him, we're excited, and, we're hooping and hollering and going up to them and like, so we want to make sure that the approach and the contact is as less impactful as we can. And then we'll talk about some things you can do at your house, like the door chimes if they open so you know if somebody leaves. We could talk about, excuse me, when are they most alert? Are they most alert during the morning, at the evening, just after a nap? There's a whole gamut of questions we ask to make sure that we have the best overall picture of this person we can, so it'll help dictate how we search. Are they a fast walker? We talked about a 2 mile an hour average, but this could be a young person with autism, like not 2 miles. They'll truck, they'll move. Do they like to go in the woods? Some people say no, they have mobility issues. They will stay on the path unless they fall off, or nope, they'll go cross country. They'll do whatever. And to illustrate that, we had a search for a young child, a 3-year-old, that left the house with no diaper, completely naked. And it was out of Angels Camp, rural area. And as search managers, we're like, there's no way this 3-year-old's going to go through a barbed wire fence, through an open field with, stickers and thorns and whatnot. And we searched the immediate area, couldn't find her. We're like, okay, now we started switching to maybe as an abduction. So we started our detectives going down that route. She was found 3 miles away. She went through about 5 or 6 different barbed wire fences and was just cruising around like everything was fine and didn't know she was lost. She was on an adventure. So knowing, like, some kids won't wander, some kids do. One kid went off with the dog came back, the kid didn't. So it's like, okay, now we have a search. So what characteristics does that person have? And then not so much in the dementia category. Again, that's an all-encompassing. Do they have any survival skills? Are they woodsy? Can they make a fire? Did they leave on a purposeful long hike? That kind of thing that we'd get into. So we get all these questions answered when the caregiver's not frantic, and then that gets loaded up in our system so we can just pull it up and start making our search decisions and assignments much easier and much more intelligently based.
And do those search criteria, then do you pass that to every person that's part of the search?
So we'll, not all of it, we'll give them a brief rundown of, they're a fast walker, they'll go off trail, they'll do, this is their nickname and this is what they're wearing, things like that. But what we do as search managers is we all digest the material, what happened, all the circumstances, and we have a map. And we each, on our own, decide, I think we should search here, and we do like a 1 through 5. I think this is the best search area, I think this is the best search area based upon, is there a canyon, is there a river? And then we come together, and then we meld those together. So let's say there's A, B, C, D, and E sections. And everybody thought, or 90% people thought C was the best place to go first. And so we'll put the resources there. And then 80% thought it was supposed to be B, so we'll go there. And it's basically a consensus search. So one person isn't making the decision of, I think they're going there, so let's put everything there. It's a general consensus of, I think it's actually called a Marsden consensus of where to deploy the resources based upon the totality of the knowledge in the room. And our search managers, a lot of them have 20 years experience, which is good because 20 years experience, a lot of things happen, but it can also be bad because you're relying upon, well, this is what happened last time, and I've seen this before. So we have a cross-section of experienced search managers, and we'll throw brand new search managers in there to make sure we get everybody's idea collectively. The more diverse you can make the decision, the better it is to get a accurate deployment of resources. And then from there, we send people out in the county. We have search dogs. We use helicopters. We work with mutual aid, the Office of Emergency Services, both state and local. We work with the military. If you remember the lady that went missing up at Arnold, we had multiple aircraft from the military. We had search teams from all over. We threw everything we had at it. And I'm not saying if she had this, we would have found her, because we didn't get the call until 3 days after she was missing. But it certainly would help. So on that note, if you do go hiking, please tell somebody where you're going. Please, it doesn't have to be I'm going on this exact trail to this exact point to this exact whatnot. Just where you're going, what time you think you'll be back, and what time to worry. All right, so if I go hunting, my wife knows if I don't check in by 10 o'clock at night, something's wrong, because I'm not going to spend the night out in the woods. So something's wrong. So tell somebody where you're going. Take food and water with you. Even if I'm just going to go up to the Arnold Rim Trail and I'm just going to have a good old time, and I'm not going to be out more than a couple hours. What if you sprain your ankle? And you're out there by yourself, which you should not do. Go take somebody with you. And you have to spend the night because the person you told forgot, or you didn't tell anybody. Now you have to spend the night. Now you're going to be cold, hungry, and thirsty. Just make sure you have some food with you. Maybe some signaling devices like a whistle. When you're yelling for a long time, you're going to lose your voice. So blow a whistle. That will carry a much further distance, and you'll be able to be found much quicker. We use whistles. We'll whistle. Anybody calls back, then, because we lose our voice as searchers yelling for people's names. And then, again, don't go hiking alone. There's a common denominator that when people get lost in a bad, I heard you, and they get found in a bad way. Again, hiking by yourself necessarily isn't bad, but making sure you tell somebody where you're going. But if you can take a friend, and if you have medication that you're supposed to take, please take it with you. Again, if you're over there overnight, you may not realize that you're going to be overnight, especially diabetics. Make sure you take something sugary, make sure you take some water, make sure you take your medication. But again, it's not necessarily bad going out by yourself, but just let us know.
I do have to say everyone knows where I'm going.
Well, a friend of mine and I, we were up at the Rim Trail one time hiking, and somehow we got off the trail. We didn't know we did, and and then it started, and we had gone later on in the afternoon, and all of a sudden it started getting a little darker and stuff, but we were together at least, but we did find our way back and everything, but yeah, it can happen.
If you do get lost and you're in an area that's unfamiliar, you don't know which way to go, the best thing you can do is stop. So instead of digging yourself a deeper hole, just stop where you are. We actually have a program that we teach up at Big Tree State Park for kids. It's called Hug a Tree. If you get lost, you don't know where you are, stop. Because it's much easier to finding a static target than it is somebody, if we're walking around and you're walking around. And then our dogs, it helps our dogs too, because our dogs go off scent. And if you're doing laps and polluting the area with your scent, they're going to be like, they're here somewhere, but I don't know where. If you stay in one spot, the prevailing winds will blow your scent in a certain direction. We call it a scent cone. And the dogs will be able to find it much easier, as opposed to they're wandering out here somewhere and I'm confused, but they're here somewhere.
I think it's important that we know our limitations too. Like, I don't go anywhere. I don't hike anywhere unless I know where, like Pinecrest. I'll
Right.
And even at Pinecrest, I'll get off the trail and have to stop and really look and figure it out. But I know Pinecrest, I'm comfortable hiking there, and the trail is very clear.
Right.
Otherwise, I won't go anywhere because I'm terrible at directions, and I know you guys would be out looking for me if I went someplace that I didn't know.
Yeah, that's a very common mistake that people make. They overestimate their ability and they underestimate how long it's going to take. If you look at Google Earth, oh, it's not that far. The scale, nothing but bad against Google Earth, but the scale's significantly off. If you use apps like All Trails or something like that, it'll generally give you a description of the trail, how long it is and how difficult it is. So if you start on a trail and you think, oh, just over there, it could be a little hill, and it turns up to be the walking straight up the side of a mountain, you can see that before you go. A little bit of pre-planning, a little bit of taking the fun out of the spontaneity of it, I guess, but it makes you much safer.
So how many, approximately, how many people in the county have this device?
This is brand new, none yet. Yeah, this is one of the newest things that's come to our department. That's why we're trying to get the word out, and we did that presentation at Murphy's Diggins, and we're just trying to get the word out. And part of the difficulty with this is people with cognitive disabilities may not want it, and that's a really hard thing for people to accept. Both my grandparents, they didn't accept it till the day they passed. Nope, things are fine. That's one of the biggest hurdles, is just to get them to understand. And I'm not saying it's embarrassing, but having this on their wrist can be, a cause of embarrassment. So that's why we can put it on the ankle. They can cover it with a sock and things like that. We don't want it in their pockets. We don't want it in their shirt pockets or their pants pockets, because if you get to put it in, or it falls out, or they take it out, there's a whole lot of things that go along with that.
So can you emphasize again that you want people calling right away? Because I think we're so used to watching TV and having the frantic mom go, they wouldn't let me report it until 48 hours.
So that's, yeah, so yes, missing person, by law, law enforcement agencies in California have to take a missing persons report. We don't say wait 4 hours. We don't say, if you tell me, my friend went to the store, they're supposed to be back 2 minutes ago, I want to file a missing persons report, okay, we'll take it. If somebody from New York calls and says, hey, I haven't talked to my cousin in 4 years, I'd like to do a missing persons report, we take it. And that's based upon, we take all these very seriously. We're not going to wait, and we're not going to call back in 24 hours, they'll show up, because again, that 24 hours, that circle just grows and grows and grows, especially if they get in a car, bicycle. I mean, that could be, where in the world are they? And on that note of calling right away, we also want people to call on calls for service. If something, crimes in progress, things like that, quality of life crimes. We're noticing that people, they'll call on Monday and say, hey, this happened on Saturday. I know you guys are busy. I didn't want to bug you, but these kids are playing down at the park and they're, scratching into the tables and whatnot. Bother us. We want you to bother us. Sometimes Saturdays are busy, sometimes they're not. But if you see a crime in progress, we'll put it on our call for service board and we'll triage it. If we're chasing somebody, if we're dealing with felony crimes, it'll wait. But if we're not busy, we'll send somebody there. So just make sure that you call regardless of what the crime is, and it helps us as a sheriff's department track activity in the county. We have a crime analyst that all she does, one of her main jobs is tabulating calls for service, and everything gets a number. So at the end of the month, we can tabulate, where the general crimes are being committed, what time of day they're being committed, and if we know by who. So that lets our deputies know with their limited extra patrol time. We can say, let's say Marvell's getting a rash of car burglaries, generally between 2 and 5 p.m. Well, we can go there at 2 and 5 p.m. and try to squash some of that and just be in the area and maybe catch the person. Gives us a better picture of what's going on in the county so we can work smarter, not harder. So if you have a crime, because we get a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to bother you, bother us. Give us a call, let us know. You can remain anonymous, but it gives us a better picture of what's going on in the county. And again, search and rescue, please call as soon as possible. Any other questions?
And then can you give to me one more time, to write it down, the app for tracking family members?
Oh, this is not an endorsement. This is just something we had talked about offline. There's an app called Life 360. And I have it on my phone, and the kids weren't allowed to drive unless they had it. It tracks them with cellular data, where they are and what they're doing, how long they've been at a location. There's different levels, free, and then you can pay a little bit more to see how fast they were driving. And it'll tell you, like, track them where they went. So I went to my friend's house. Really? Your friend doesn't live over here. And to this day, my children are grown and have families of their own. We still track each other. And, what are you doing, Dad? Why are you up at Big Trees today? Oh, I'm on a search. So it's a good way to track people. My father-in-law lives in North Dakota, and we had noticed he hadn't left the house in like 5 days, which is not characteristic for him. And we hadn't been paying attention to the weather, so we called him like, hey, you okay? Freak storm, early winter storm. He's like, I'm not going out in that. It's cold as heck. Okay, just checking on you. So it's just a way to make sure that people, my mom's on it, just make sure people are, help keep them safe. And if they do, somebody breaks down, where are you? I don't know. Well, we can get help to you. And there's other apps like that. We just chose Life 360. I think the kids chose it because they're a little more tech savvy than I am. Anything else? All right, so if you see us out in the field with this, we're not catching or looking for ghosts. We have a search going on. And if anybody knows anybody that has cognitive disability that would like this, let us know, and we'll do a home visit and have share some dialogue with them about our product.
And I like the fact that you're gonna also help pick out the correct company to get the bracelet from during that visit, or did I understand you correctly?
So we did when we went to choose this, we evaluated several different vendors and several different platforms, but we can bring multiple colors and bandwidth when we show up so they can pick the color they want.
Okay. So I guess that's not really what I was asking, because when I checked on that, and then I didn't go through the whole process, and let me tell you, I got 3 phone calls. I was at work. There were 3 phone calls on my home phone. There were 3 messages on my email, and they kept doing that like daily for a couple of weeks. I finally, if I could hear it, I knew I'd pick it up and say, please stop calling me. But it can be quite the onslaught if you don't actually go through the whole process.
They have a lot of volunteers that work at the company, and they're very energetic. They believe in the product fully, and they know it saves lives. They know it saves money. To do a search is an expensive project. Some of the helicopters are $1,500 an hour. And that just that alone would break Calaveras if we didn't have mutual aid systems. So they're volunteers, their hearts are in a good spot. That's probably why you got so many phone calls, but to alleviate that, give us a call and we'll help you sign up, and there will be no onslaught of people trying to help.
And then are you using drones as well out in the field now for search and
So
rescue?
we do use drones. It's a and/or. We can't use helicopters or planes and drones at the same time. So if the plane leaves or the helicopter leaves, we'll use drones. And believe it or not, in Calaveras, unless it's an open field, it is extremely hard to find somebody. If they're under a tree or they fall, like the lady we were talking about in Arnold, she fell near some brush where even with the drone flying over it, you couldn't see it. And we literally walked maybe from here to that chair to see her. And we had been near that area before, but if somebody's laying down unresponsive and they're under brush, if you don't walk dang near over them, you're not going to find them.
So thank you for all of your efforts.
Oh,
in
you're
that
welcome.
project,
You're welcome.
Finding her. I didn't know her. I had met her maybe once.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked with people who knew her and were very close with her, and we just didn't think that you were even gonna find her. So what a relief that she was found and that there was
Some closure.
closure for her friends and most especially for her family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were certainly not pleased with the outcome of her passing away, but at least we were given her closure, and some people don't get that. There's a couple missing people that we helped out with in Alpine that we have no idea where they are, and it's hard for families. It's hard for families to process. I mean, they know, but there's always that don't know because they're not there. Did they, leave or whatever? And there's always that doubt. But thank you. I'll let the team know.
Yeah, much appreciated.
fallen and that's what happened?
So we're not exactly sure how she passed, or I'm not. I didn't get the full debrief on that. But she was in our search area, but on the outer edges of our search area. And I conjecture, we think she just kept on walking, figuring she was on the correct trail, and then darkness set and exhaustion. We put some search, I mean, it was, where she crossed was near vertical, and she had to do some scrambling, and the cell phone didn't work up there, we couldn't ping it, and the whole, I mean, I don't want to say everything, but if it could go wrong for her, it did, which is scary, because it was not, our understanding, it was not supposed to be that long of a hike. This was up in Arnold. It was back in November. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. We could touch a little bit more on it.
Yeah, 'cause we haven't talked about things like not leaving that TV box out there by the curb.
Okay. Yeah. So senior safety rules are general safety rules for your house. You want to have a house that's uninviting to criminals. We want lights on the outside. If you can, we want to make sure you have a alarm system, and alarm system with cameras. Crooks don't want to be found out. And if you have an alarm and you have cameras, that's one way that they're going to be found out and they'll move on. There's a very famous story that our sheriff tells. One night he was working and a couple houses got burglarized on the street. Well, he could tell people walking in the snow, the ones that had alarm signs on them, they bypassed, and they bypassed. This one didn't. They burglarized it. Bypass, burglarize. So alarms are a huge deterrent. On top of alarms, making sure that you have security in your house, meaning motion detectors inside if they go through a window and the windows are all secure. Make sure you have good communications with your neighbors. Hey, I'm going to be gone for a couple days. I'm going on vacation. Things like that. They can watch your house or pay extra attention. And then have some type of lights on inside your house. They have timer lights. And now they have some that I've seen, you can program them from your phone. So instead of the same light coming on at 7 and going off at 2, you can program it. And one of the smartest things I've heard is having the bathroom light come on 1 or 2 times a night. So if somebody's watching your house, they may think somebody's there, but when the bathroom light goes on randomly at 2 and then 4 in the morning, that's usually indicative of somebody's home. If you're going to order packages and you're not going to be home, have somebody pick them up for you. We do have porch pirates that follow the UPS drivers, or not just UPS, the delivery, and they'll take your packages. During Christmas time, if you get a nice big TV or you buy your husband a shotgun, or you get a shotgun and you have the big boxes, don't put them on the curb because they can drive by and see them. Some of the other issues for seniors is, make sure you have smoke alarms. Make sure they work, make sure you change the batteries. Fire extinguisher. Who has fire extinguishers in their house? How old are they?
Mine needs to be
Right, so fire extinguishers do expire, and we suggest that when you change your fire alarm, you just at least shake your fire extinguisher, because that material, depending on what's in it, can be compacted. And then when you go to throw your old fire extinguisher away, use it. Take it outside and learn how to use it and at least deploy it. It's expired, but at least you go through the motions of pulling the pin and actually seeing what happens when things come out. So the first time you use it isn't the only time.
I saw a video about a fire blanket where they took it and threw it over like a kitchen fire or whatever, and they say you can hang it on your wall and it doesn't make the mess of a fire extinguisher. I mean, have you heard of those?
I've heard of those. I'm not very familiar with them.
I was wondering if it was any good or not.
I don't know. I mean, just, I don't know how that would work. I'm sure it would be less messy than a fire extinguisher, but I don't know anything about it to speak on that. And then we talked about life alerts. Those are great if you live home alone. If you fall and you can't get up, things like that. Those are very helpful. And then personal information and email scams. People are doing everything they can to do we call it phishing. They'll send you emails, they'll send you texts, hey, your UPS box is at the shipping center and we can't, I'm picking on UPS, I need to verify your address. UPS doesn't do that. Somebody might call up and say, hey, I'm from PG&E and we have our records are updated and we need your social security. PG&E doesn't do that. We've all gotten those Nigerian prints, I just need some money kind of thing. If it looks too good to be true, it is. A lot of times people prey on the good nature of senior citizens, and that's where they get into trouble of I thought I was helping somebody out. And usually when we start our investigation was, I thought this person needed some help, I was trying to help them out, and I got scammed. So just be leery. Make sure you protect your personal information, your passwords, change those occasionally. Medicare fraud, make sure you, if you have Medicare, make sure you hold your numbers dear and don't let those get out. There is a Medicare fraud number that you can call if you're compromised. We talked about Project Lifesaver, and then reporting cybersecurity incidents.
Mail stuff.
And then mail theft. So mail theft, I don't want to say it's seasonal, but it's hit and miss. We'll get people from out of the area, and they'll basically take a loop around the county and hit all the mailboxes. Christmas time, people know people send packages and whatnot during Christmas time. If you can, do not leave your mail in your mailbox overnight. Bring it in every night. I know it's kind of a pain in the shoulder, but make sure you do that, because if you don't, they could get it. And then once they get your personal data, then you're compromised, and they can open accounts and they can do things like that. There are some skimmers that we have found in the county. They're very rare. When you put your credit card in at the pump, those are increasingly rare in this county. They typically go for areas that have higher volumes, like the 99 corridor, the truck stops and whatnot, where they can get mass numbers. So for seniors, and just making sure that tell people where you're going. Join. This is Greg talking, not the sheriff's office. Make sure you join community groups. I know it keeps my mom very active. She's with Calaveras Neighbor Newcomers, and she's very active with that and some other ones. So make sure you remain active, make sure you remain engaged. And then if you see any type of crime, give us a call. Neighborhood watch programs work very well. If you guys have one of those in your area, please join that. If you don't have one in your area, please let us know. We can start one. And then just being situationally aware, or have some situational awareness when you guys are out and about. So when you go to the gas station, who looks inside the gas station before they walk in? You do now. You're cheating. You've had this before. So maybe pause a half a second to look in the gas station to see if there anything's going on. Maybe there's somebody in there with mental crisis. Maybe they're getting robbed. Just taking that half a second pause to check things out. And generally, people raise their hand and say, yes, I do. Not because something's going on in there, it's because there's somebody in there I don't want to talk to. So, but make sure you just take a look. And when you come out, same thing. Look around your car. Kind of surveil the area. Make sure there's nobody lurking around. When you're shopping, don't leave your purse in the cart. So if you leave the purse in the cart and you go over here and look at things, people watch that. And if you do it once during the store, you're going to do it again, and they'll try to take your purse. Same thing when you're putting your groceries or whatever in your car. Make sure you don't leave your purse over at the cart as you're putting things in. It just takes a second to walk by and swipe it, and then where'd it go. When you're shopping, if you buy something expensive from a jewelry store or something like that, again, take that pause. Take that pause when you walk out. When you go to a restaurant, make sure you just take that pause of where's the other exit. Generally we know they're through the kitchen out the back where they get the deliveries. Just have an awareness of what's going on. So if something's happening in the front, you can go out the back, or vice versa. Just having that awareness. And we don't tell you this to make you hyper vigilant, but just to be aware of your surroundings. There's some very famous studies about people in prison, and they talk about how do you pick your victims, and they choose them wisely. They want to look for the ones that aren't paying attention, that are kind of, head in the clouds. These days, maybe somebody that's walking around a lot like this, takes a second. There's ways you can portray yourself as just being more alert, and that alone will help you from not being a victim of crimes. And then lastly, if I can, just if you do go on vacation, I forgot to mention, we do have vacation house checks. Our volunteers will come around. If you go on, let's say you're going to go to Greece for a couple weeks, and your neighbor can't watch your house, you can contact our volunteer group. You fill out a form, and then they'll tell us what cars are supposed to be there, what cars aren't supposed to be there, and then they'll come around. The first time they'll come around, they'll shake every door, and they'll make sure that everything's locked and your garage is shut. If not, they'll try to secure it or let you know. And then from then on, they'll come and patrol the area a little bit extra. And having our cars in the area is a deterrent.
Didn't know they still did that. I remember when
Yeah.
back when I was little, my parents,
Yeah.
could do it, but I didn't know they still did.
It makes a difference having that marked car in the area. But if you are going to have somebody come water your plants or your garden while you're gone, please put that on there. Because if there's not supposed to be a blue Explorer in the driveway and they see one, they're going to call us and we're going to come in there, and your plant helper might get a little scare with some deputies coming around. So make sure you fill it out, and an end date when you come home, when you're leaving, when you come home. Any other questions? Oh, one more thing, sorry. We are looking for volunteers for both our search and rescue volunteer team and our volunteer team, the one that does the patrols. And some frequently asked questions. No, you don't have to go on patrol as a volunteer. You can work our substations. We have a new one in Railroad Flat. You can work at our main office. There's a lot of things that our volunteers do behind the scenes to free up our deputies, a lot of clerical and paperwork. So the less paperwork deputies have to do, the more time they're out there. And then conversely, people say, I can't be on search and rescue, I can't go hike in the woods. Good, because we need people that do other things. Run a radio, help with the clue log, check people in, check people out, work at the command post, fundraising team. So if you're interested in any of those, please get a hold of the Sheriff's Office. We'd love to have you as volunteers. We have openings, and they're a pretty good group of people. We have a lot of fun.
And you need people to feed the search and rescue team.
Yeah, so actually, we need people to feed them. We have an agreement with the Moose Lodge up in Arnold. They will provide lunches for our searchers, free of charge for us. So when the searchers come back in from the field, they have a lunch waiting for them, or they can take it out if it's ready for them when they go out, which is immensely helpful when you come back after searching through poison oak all day and you have a nice sandwich. It really lifts your spirits and helps them come back, because when you know Calaveras feeds you, we get a lot more volunteers coming.
And
Give them food, they will come.
Yes, yes.
one thing that I make sure I do, when I get in the car, I immediately lock my doors.
Yep. So, yep.
Yeah, I
But-
had a guy over at Treats. I had hip surgery, so I had my little handicap thing, right? And apparently he didn't think I looked disabled enough, so he hopped into the truck on the other side, and I was like, get out of my truck. Now I think about it, I should have got out myself,
Right.
right then and there. He finally got out, but, he was sure I shouldn't be in that spot, and I was just shocked.
It takes a lot of nerve to do that.
Yeah. Well, he obviously had some diagnosis of some sort.
Right. So yeah, lock your doors, and if you're getting gas, lock your doors. That sounds weird, but if you're sitting there pumping the gas and, watching, wishing they had tissues there to dry your eyes while you're filling up, they can walk by and grab your purse out of your car, grab
And
anything.
don't leave your windows down and your purse on the seat. So
Yeah.
you can reach in and grab it.
Yeah, it's sad that, last point, it's sad that we have to do that these days. I came in Calaveras when I was in 1977, my family moved here. It is not the Calaveras of those days. We didn't lock our doors. I was gone all day doing, fishing and hunting with my friends. We're not in Calaveras anymore like that. I have a friend in Valley Springs. He leaves his keys in his truck. I tell him, do not call us if your car gets stolen. That's just not smart. But we need to take universal precautions, lock our doors, roll our windows up, things like that. But Calaveras is one of the bottom per capita counties for crimes per capita. So we are a very safe county, but when something happens, we're so a tight-knit community, so small, it reverberates. Like we've had people say, there's a mass, burglary in Arnold. There are people getting burglarized all over the place. One person got burglarized, told 10 people, they told everybody, and next thing you know, we had mass hysteria up there. There's all these burglaries. It was one, but they hadn't had any for a while. So one's, 100% increase, and that's, not okay. But again, we've talked about all this doom and gloom about what could happen. Calaveras is still very, very safe.
Just a comment
Mhm,
or two.
sure.
We refinanced like in January, and I started getting these things in the mail. This is Rocket Mortgage. You need to call us right away. And I'm like, that's garbage. And then I got another one, last chance, et cetera, et cetera. So I finally just called Rocket Mortgage. I'm like, you guys need to know I'm getting these, and I know it's not coming from you guys
Mhm.
because you would just pick up the phone and call. And yes, I was right. And so that's just an awareness thing to share
Mhm.
with other people. Like, if you're working with a company, they're going to call you. They're not going to send you something in the mail to call them back. And then I really started using the Apple Pay.
Mhm.
You put your debit card on there and different credit cards on there. And our bank manager was sharing at the Elder Empowerment Symposium last year that it's actually safer to use your Apple Pay or your Google Pay or your Samsung Pay because it scrambles the number every single time you use it. It's not the same credit card number any given time. It's different. So I'm looking forward to everyone switching over to that so that we have the opportunity to use them everywhere.
Right.
But he said if you can't use that, then tap your card rather than inserting it because that's also really safe. And the Elder Empowerment Symposium will be happening again over in Tuolumne County in June.
Nice.
Do you have
Yeah.
a date?
I can't remember the date. I think it's the 14th. Let me see if I can figure it out. But we should have the flyers soon,
Okay.
and I will for sure get those out to
Yeah,
everybody.
please.
I think it's the 12th, but don't quote me on that.
In
I'll
June.
get the flyers out. June,
Yeah,
yeah.
I normally attend that every year too. So
Yeah.
I love the elder abuse. I love it.
That's very, very good advice. Anything you can do to make yourself less of a inviting target, hardening your numbers and using Apple Pay, keeping your passwords safe. That's, not using your home address or, 1, 2, 3, 4 for your passwords. Anything you can do is going to make it much, much more safe for you.
Great. Well, I can't think of another thing to ask you.
All right. Well, we're here if you need anything. If you guys have any issues or want to talk to somebody, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. And if you need us to come out and do a neighborhood watch or another presentation, let us know. Community engagement's one of the things we try to get out there. The more messages I can send out like this, the less crime we're going to have, and the deputies can go out and do other things.